Welcome back to the class, everyone. The long-awaited bonus drops for both Gungan shards and Zeta mats is finally just about here. And I've been getting a lot of questions and comments over the last couple of days about if we should start hoarding and when we should start hoarding if we want to take full advantage of it. So it's time that we break it down and we look at which energies are going to be really worth it and which one we probably shouldn't bother with. So just as a quick review, what are we talking about today? We are talking about the fact that CG announced about a week ago or so that we are going to be getting bonus drops from June 3rd until June 6th in the corresponding manner, where in normal energy you will get Boss Nass if you do not have him 7 stars. If you do have him 7 stars, instead you will get Omegas on normal energy. The same for Cantina will work for Phalanx. If you have Phalanx at 7 stars, you get Zetas. Same for Tarpals and Cairo Computers, and Boomadir with Cairo Prod. So this is where the drops are going to be happening and when they're going to be happening. Now that we understand that, we need to just really quickly address the topic of hoarding. Since those bonus drops will only be available on the days given, if we want to take even more advantage of what is going to happen, we can save and stockpile up our energy up until the days prior, so that the days where we wouldn't be getting drops, we can take that energy and use it in the day that we will be getting bonus drops. Now, I have not done a lot of research into what the drop rates will be. Number one, there is no way to know them. And number two, I'm really running out of time to do the research because, quite frankly, this video needs to be out the day that this is posting, which is the 30th, because for most people, if you are going to hoard, you're going to want to start on the 31st. So with that being said, what we want to do is we want to go in on the 31st, and I'll explain more about that, why that date is important later. And we want to fill up our energy with the 50 crystal refreshes for fleet and mod energy, and have it go into the yellow status where it stops naturally accruing energy. That way, once the 3rd eventually rolls around and we are capped at about the 1,000 limit for energy, because that's where it stops, we will just completely unload it, and instead of not getting the bonus drops, we will get the bonus drops. Now, again, we don't have drop rates to assume how great a value they are, but I'm assuming it's going to be worth it in the long run, considering Jar Jar is going to be back in about 2 months from now. That is mostly confirmed from the developers. He's coming back 3 months after his initial appearance, and he's came out about a month ago. So we want to have these shards ready, because if we don't have Jar Jar, we will not be prepared for the raid. So if that's something that's important to you, I would highly recommend hoarding at least these first 3 energies. Now, Cantina, you want to be doing the 100s instead of the 50s, because the 50s do not exist for Cantina. And normal energy, I'm going to recommend not doing, and really, here's why. When we start to dig into the math, and really not even the math, but just the logic behind why would we be stockpiling energy and sacrificing that old energy to be able to get better drops when they come around. A few things that we have to notice: if we do want to start hoarding with normal energy, we actually need to be starting today. And you don't really need to freak out, because I really don't think you should. I really don't think you should be hoarding your normal energy. And there's a few reasons why. Number one of the things that always comes up when we are talking about hoarding, that I wouldn't say pushback, but a lot of the concerns that a lot of people will give is the fact that when you are hoarding, if you're doing it 100% of the way the entire time, you're not getting your 600 tickets and you're not being able to contribute to the raid. Not only is that bad for your guild, but on top of that, it's not good for you, because the less the raids happen, the less rewards you get. And there probably is some way to track that as far as an individual basis goes, but it is a concern nonetheless. And if we don't hoard normal energy, we just do the other 3, we really bypass that entirely. You can still hit these 600 fairly easily by hoarding Cantina and the other 2 energies and focusing all of your normal energy on that. My other big concern with hoarding normal energy starting today, or really, I guess any other day but the day before, is the fact that if we're doing, the whole purpose that we're doing this is to get Gungans, which I think that's going to be the case for the majority of people. Gungans are currently on normal nodes. So you're not just sacrificing a little bit of energy by hoarding and losing in on that accrual process. You're actually sacrificing shards, and very likely you're probably even refreshing some of these nodes, especially with Boomadir, considering that he himself is also going to be on a normal energy. And this is really hard, because different from Cantina, if we want to catch up in getting Boomadir or Boss Nass shards on these hard nodes, we don't just need energy, we have to spend crystals to refresh it, and the fewer days that we have to do that, the more expensive it gets, because each time it goes up. The first time it costs 25 crystals, then it costs 50, then it costs 100. So you're looking at a pretty large, not just inconvenience, but actual loss in resources by giving up on farming both Boomadir and Boss Nass for those couple of days. So with all that being said, I think it's probably not a wise idea to hoard normal energy. You invite the daily ticket thing to be kind of a pain. There is a way around that, and we'll address that here in a second. You're also going to be hurting your raid tickets, and as well, you're going to be missing out on the actual Gungan shards, which is really the reason why most people should be doing this. Now, if we start to look at the other energies, there just isn't that problem, and in fact, it becomes a lot higher of an emphasis to do it. Let's talk a little bit about Cantina. So if you're not doing Cantina energy, or if you're not simming your nodes for Cantina during the days when you were hoarding, you're really missing out on Tarpal shards. And the reason why this is okay is because Tarpals is the easiest Gungan to farm. Not only is he on a Cantina node, but in addition to that, he's on a really cheap Cantina node, which means you can farm him in significantly less time than the rest of the Gungans. So you don't really have to worry about missing out on the shards in him that much, because you're going to be making for it up much more, because when you are going and getting the extra energy from hoarding and using it during the additive drops or the bonus drops, you're going to be getting Phalanx. And this is a big deal, because Phalanx is not even currently farmable on a node. And if Jar Jar is coming back in 2 months, that means at a bare minimum, you're going to have to be refreshing his node twice every day leading up until the event. If it takes much longer, you might even have to do a few shipments. So we really want to pinpoint getting his the most, and since he is on Cantina for the bonus drops, we're definitely going to want to make a point to hoard the Cantina. We don't really have to worry about missing out on the raid tickets, because we're already going to be using our normal energy, and that's really not all that big of a deal, because Boss Nass himself, who we would be getting the bonus drops for, assuming we are hoarding the actual normal energy, you probably have already been farming him for quite a while if Gungans have been a priority for you, so he's not going to be as behind as, say, Phalanx is going to be. Now, when it does come to the other two energies that are, I guess, Fleet and Mod, we're not really looking at any real sacrifices here in regards to Gungan shards, because you can't really farm Gungans on Fleet or Mod. Now, you still will miss out on dailies if you don't do a one specific thing that we'll get to here in a second, but we really don't have any conflict of interest like we would with normal or Cantina, so those are pretty simple to deal with. Now, you may still be asking, okay, I would like to be able to do my dailies. I don't want to miss out on the crystals that I would be getting by not doing 3 mod refreshes a day. So the question becomes, can I still hoard and take advantage of this without burning a bunch of crystals on top of that? And the answer is yes, you can. You can see this table down here to the left, different from the one above it. You'll notice the numbers are slightly inflated, and the whole reason that they're inflated is to make up for the amount of energy that you would need each day to be able to hit your dailies. Now, these numbers might look a little bit different for each individual, because depending on what 3 or 5 nodes you're wanting to farm, it's going to increase the costs. For me, if I were to do this, and I'm quite frankly not that sure if I even will, just because where my roster is at with Zetas and Kairos, considering I already have all the Gungans, I just don't know if it's that necessary. But if I were to do it, I would only be looking to do the bare minimum cheapest nodes for Fleet, which would be 8 energy. And if I need 8 energy 3 times, that's 24. So the first day that I start hoarding, being the 31st, I want to have 48 extra Fleet energy stored on top of the 309 that I would otherwise be required to have for the hoarding, because that would allow me to have enough to spend on both the first and the second, and then everything would be perfectly ready to drop the load on the 3rd. Now, again, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but the reason why you have to aim for these specific numbers, or you're going to want to start hoarding at these specific days, is because the energy does have natural caps. You couldn't have started this a week ago, because if you did, you would have capped out at 2,000 for normal energy or 1,000 for the other 3 energies, and just kind of sat there on your energy just naturally burning and not being able to use any of it. It would have been a great loss. So now, if you do actually want to do this, the perfect time to start is either today, if you're wanting to do normal energy, which I would not recommend for all the reasons stated throughout this entire video, and if you are wanting to do just the other 3, the perfect time to start is tomorrow. Now, how this works is you want to have these exact amounts, or close to them, fairly close to them, by the end of the day. So when you go to bed, or right before whenever your reset is, these are the numbers that you want to end at. So when it comes around to the 31st tomorrow, the end of the day or the end of your reset, you want to be sitting as close to 357 for Fleet energy as physically possible. That way, when you wake up the next day, all you have to do is buy the 3 Fleet crystal refreshes for 50 crystals each, and then go ahead and spend 24 energy to make sure that you hit your dailies, and then you call it a day, and it should end at exactly 738, assuming you started with 357. And that is the same for the other 3 energies below it. That way, when all this ends on the 3rd, you will have all this stockpiled. You will not have missed out on any of your dailies. You won't have to worry about raid tickets, and you also have been farming the more problematic Gungan shards like Boss Nass or Boomadir, whereas you're not really ready for Phalanx. This will help prepare you for Phalanx. Now, we've been talking a lot about the Gungan shards because I feel like most people don't have them because you either had to plan very specifically or drop a lot of money to have them in the first place, and you do not get to partake in these other 4 drops if you did not already have Gungans. That being said, if you do have Gungans and you're really looking forward mostly to these, I would still just recommend doing the Cantina, the Fleet, and the mod. And specifically because I realize it's a bottleneck for some people out there, but at the end of the day, after your roster grows for years and years and years, Omegas just don't end up being the bottleneck. Again, I realize some people are in that position currently, but Zetas, Cairo, and the other 2 Kairos are going to be a much higher priority, and it's just a lot easier to be spending your normal energy because of dailies and raid tickets and stuff like that throughout the time. You're better off just trying to capitalize on Zetas and Kairos. And again, I don't have drop rates, but if these are anywhere similar to the way they've been before, the Zetas were like 2% per energy drop rate, which is amazing. I don't even think I need to compare it to like the Zeta packs because A, they're really rare and sometimes there isn't even that much consistency between them. So yeah, this is just going to be a good deal, especially for all of you out there. If you have Gungans finished and you're someone out there who likes to buy the Lightspeed bundles where you're chronically behind like 25 Zetas at a time, this is definitely what you want to be doing. Start tomorrow. The hoarding is the exact same. May 31st, getting 357 energy. That way you walk right into these Zeta bonus drops with your extra 1200 energy, which, you know, would be really nice because that translates to about 22, 23 Zeta mats, assuming the 2% drop rate is just about right, which is, I mean, you know, if you just got a Lightspeed bundle, I'm sure you have a Galactic Legend there sitting around with 2 or 3 Zetas that would be nice to just be immediately able to throw it on. And really, for the cost that you're sacrificing with the naturally accruing energy, it doesn't ultimately end up adding to that much in the long run. So thank you guys for watching. Until the next time, stay awesome.